The lighthouse keeper's daughter. In a small coastal village, there lived a lighthouse keeper named Thomas and his daughter, Elara. The lighthouse was their home, a towering beacon of hope for sailors navigating the treacherous waters. Elara, now 16, had grown up in the shadow of the lighthouse, her life intertwined with the rhythm of the sea. Thomas was a stern but loving father, dedicated to his duty. He had raised Elara alone after her mother, a fisherman's daughter, had died in a storm when Elara was just a baby. The sea, both giver and taker of life, was a constant presence in their lives. One stormy autumn evening, as the wind howled and the waves crashed against the cliffs, a ship appeared on the horizon. It was a merchant vessel, struggling against the ferocious storm. Thomas immediately lit the lighthouse beacon, its golden light cutting through the darkness. Elara stood by his side, her heart pounding as she watched the ship fight for survival. But the storm was relentless. The ship's mast snapped, and it began to drift dangerously close to the jagged rocks. Thomas knew he had to act. He grabbed a rope and lantern, turning to Elara. "Stay here," he ordered. "Keep the light burning." Elara watched in horror as her father descended the cliffside, determined to help the stranded sailors. She kept the beacon lit, her hands trembling as she prayed for his safety. Minutes turned to hours, and the storm showed no signs of abating. Suddenly, a deafening crash echoed through the night. Elara rushed to the window and saw the ship splintering against the rocks. Her father was nowhere to be seen. Panic surged through her as she grabbed a lantern and ran outside, calling his name. The wind and rain lashed at her as she stumbled down the cliff path. She found her father's lantern shattered on the rocks, its light extinguished. Her heart sank as she realized the truth. Thomas had been swept away by the merciless sea. Elara collapsed on the rocks, her cries lost in the roar of the storm. The lighthouse, now unmanned, began to dim as the oil ran low. Without its guiding light, another ship soon met the same fate as the first, crashing into the rocks with a sickening crunch. Days later, the storm passed, and the village mourned the loss of Thomas and the sailors. Elara, now orphaned, was consumed by guilt and grief. She blamed herself for not being strong enough to keep the light burning, for not being able to save her father. The lighthouse stood silent, its beacon extinguished, a somber reminder of the tragedy. Elara left the village, unable to bear the weight of her sorrow. She wandered the coast, forever haunted by the sound of the crashing waves and the memory of that fateful night. The lighthouse, once a symbol of hope, became a monument to loss, its light never to shine again. By Michael Obayelu.